What's up, guys? It's Ben, this is Apex Props, and I have a bit of a problem. You see, I really like Halo right now.
Oh. Hey!
I beat the first and second game, I'm halfway through the third. I play the goddamn guy in Fortnite.
God damn it!
You already know we're clapping some noobs in Fortnite as the Master Chief. You know, I've been making stuff for about 3.5 years now, and I feel like I need something to mark this momentous occasion in my life. I really like the Master Chief, so I think we gotta do the full shebang. I'm talking Mjolnir Mark 6, M6H, talking the big ass Magnum. You know what, that's what we're making first. This first video in the series I'm calling The Road to Master Chief. We're gonna be turning a bunch of 3D printed parts, just like all this. We're gonna be turning it into this revolver. Now I hope you guys stick around because I think this is gonna be pretty cool. Alrighty, I got the gun all printed out. This thing is massive, but it feels less massive when it's all glued together. So you know, I feel like a Spartan. This is totally fake, by the way. Don't report me. Alright, as you can see, I've sanded the whole thing. Took me flippin' forever, but looks great. I'm gonna go out in the garage right now. We're gonna give it probably 3 or 4 good coats of this filler primer. So it's a super thick spray paint. It's gonna seep into all the lines that are left over, and it's gonna fill them up, and then we should sand it and be pretty much ready to paint. So we're gonna go do that. Alrighty, before we go in the garage, we gotta take a look at this new cabinet. Gotta love IKEA, baby. Look at these helmets. Cody's missing his flashlight, but that's alright. Jesse got this guy, and this asshole down here, and a plant. Alright, let's get going. Alrighty folks, we've got it all primed up. For reference here, here's the paint I used. This stuff is from Duplicate Color. I ended up doing 2 coats last night. I let it cure overnight, and now I'm gonna go over everything with a 320 grit sandpaper. I'm trying to keep the scratches to a minimal, so that's why I'm going such a high grit. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a can of regular primer. I'm gonna give it a good coat, and then that'll show us where we need to go in with my glazing and spot putty. All right, let's get to sanding. Good God, it's cold out here. So the whole gun is sanded, 320, looks pretty good, but I can already see there's a couple of spots I'm gonna need to fill. But I've got my can of just regular gray spray paint. Gray is important. I want a different color on here, because if I spray this in the same color, then it's gonna kind of mask some of those imperfections in there that I want to fill. So I'm gonna hit it with a really light coat of gray because I don't want to fill in too much stuff. That's gonna be the Bondo's work. So I'm gonna give it a really light coat, let it sit for a little bit, and then we'll fill it. Alrighty, got this thing all sprayed. And when I say all sprayed, I mean 85–90% sprayed. I ran out of paint halfway through, but whatever. This is good enough. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go right to my Bondo glazing and spot putty. This stuff right here. And what I'm gonna do, doctor will see you now. I'm gonna squeeze some out onto my finger. Find a gap. I'm thinking right along here. You can kind of see those little pinholes down there. That's what I'm going to start with. So I'm going to take this on my finger. I'm going to spread just a little bit on. Now less is more here, because the more you goop on, the longer it's going to take to dry. Spread it out with my finger. Now there's like this little circle detail down here. That's getting filled in a bit, but that's alright. Once this dries, I'm going to go back, sand it, and when I go back to re-sand it, I'm just going to bust out my needle files, dig that little crevice out, and it'll look great. There's a decently big gap up here, but no more.
Nice.
There, kind of right in here. It's kind of hard to see. Put a little more goop on my finger. And if I overshoot and get it somewhere I don't really want it, don't really care. The whole thing's getting sanded later anyway. So now I'm gonna go around the whole gun and do that.
Many hours later.
Alrighty folks, the Magnum's all toothpasted up. Between the sanding and the filler primer, it was actually really smooth. Kind of along this bar was pretty bad. Back of the handle was pretty bad. And then some of the underhangs where supports were, some of that was not too good. This bit right here, incredibly smooth. I was very happy to see that. And of course, I didn't put any on the textured grip. I'm gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna go ahead, sand the whole thing, let that cure overnight, and then tomorrow we paint. Alright, sanding went pretty good. There's a couple of rough spots, but quite frankly, I don't care. I printed this off. This is a picture I pulled off of the Halo wiki. This picture right off the wiki. The paint job is cool. It's like a brushed aluminum, pretty worn. Barrel's black. That barrel's pretty silvery. It looks like there's red in the dials, although that might just be dirt. But the whole gun is kind of a gunmetal dark silver. This is gonna work really well. I've got this really nice airbrush paint that I'm probably gonna use for most of this. But first things first, I'm gonna hit the whole gun with a gloss black base coat. It's going to really make the gunmetal color pop. The black will kind of radiate through the finish, make the whole gun look like it's actually made of metal. How's it going, guys? Back in the garage. Made some pretty good progress here. So, here's what we got. I did 2 coats of flat black and then 1 coat of a semi-gloss black. Nice and shiny. I ended up letting it dry for pretty much 48 hours straight. Because this paint, I'm not sure if it was the conditions I was spraying in or whatever, but it was very tacky, extremely sticky to the point where I was leaving fingerprints in the paint, even though it had been drying for more than 24 hours at the time. But anyway, 2 days later, but now we're ready to paint. So I've got my space heater running, I've got the gun all out, I've got my image printed out, and actually I found another really nice image on my phone here. I've got my airbrush pulled out, plugged into the wall. This is my airbrush. It's a cheap Chinese knockoff dual action airbrush. So push down, pull back, sprays paint. Cheap airbrush compressor. This whole kit cost me 120 Canadian. The harder part is the paints. So I've got 2 paints pulled out here. This is it's a Tamiya model paints. I got a gunmetal color here. And then I have this stuff. This is all clad lacquer. So it's very expensive, but it's supposed to give an incredible finish. And I have the stainless steel variety here. You can get many different colors. You can get chrome. I've got brass as well. Great stuff. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go through the picture on my phone using this as well. I'm gonna mask off the parts that need to stay black. So the only part that needs to stay black is the texture grip. So this part right in here. That I'm gonna mask off with my just green painter's tape. And then I think I'm going to spray stainless steel first. I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna mask that off, and then I'm gonna paint the gunmetal parts. So this underhang here is gunmetal. The grip along here is gunmetal as well. So we're gonna get masking, and then we'll start spraying. Alrighty folks, got the whole gun taped up. And when I say the whole gun, I mean one part of it. As you can see, got my respirator on. This paint that I'm gonna be spraying with, this all clad, nasty stuff. My PSI on the airbrush is set to 30. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my paint into the little funnel at the top of my gun. The parts that I'm going to be spraying with this are pretty much the whole top of the gun and the inner trim of this piece. And then the handle and this bit are gunmetal, which I'm gonna be doing with my Tamiya paints. So, I'm gonna load this up, start spraying. was going, Gun's all done, folks. Turned out, in my opinion, really awesome. I'm very happy. I'm extremely happy with how the paint job turned out. The model is friggin' fantastic. I downloaded this on Thingiverse, by the way. I'm gonna have a link to it in the description if you want to print your own. It's the perfect size in my opinion. A few things I would do differently. I would probably use a different clear coat. I used a satin coat. I wish I had gone with a matte clear coat, and I don't really like the super shininess of it right now. But other than that, it's awesome. I also would have spent a little more time sanding. There are still a couple of gaps and some lines in here, but to be honest, I'm not too worried about it. For what I need it to be, for a display piece that's going on my shelf, it's friggin' awesome. I'm extremely happy with it. So, I guess that's it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure to get subscribed because we're gonna have plenty more awesome content like this coming right away. Alright, well until next time, see you guys later. Apex out.